Hey, what's going on everyone? Welcome to another Boulevard Paper Fight KeyForge video. Today I wanted to start something different, seeing a lot of things online and feedback. I've noticed that the type of videos people want might be a little bit more different than what I've been doing in the past of just opening a deck and kind of just doing I'm going to call it a general evaluation where I go over a lot of the things that exist within the deck, but I'm not really focusing on anything I would say too specific. It's kind of a broad strokes if you're opening up a sealed, being aware of what exists in it. Um, my man Steve has sent me a document which is compiled of his way of looking at a KeyForge deck evaluation with some things to look at, and a lot of it stems from things that happen in the community, specifically what Lady Aurora has done with the Time Shapers. So thank you, Steve, for that. I'm going to be using that as part of this, but what I'm going to be calling this new series that I'm doing today is called, I'm going to call it Strength of the Pack for now. It's a working title, but this is a pack, technically in KeyForge, so it's going to be the strength of the deck inside. So it's going to be looking at the deck as what it contains in terms of those stats I normally go over, but then I actually want to focus on trying to evaluate what the deck wants to do and how you can look to go about doing that. So let's take a look at it. We'll do the usual evaluation thing, but very quickly, Fatefully Strange Jose, or Joke, I don't know how to spell that, and then we are say that. So we have Logos, Sanctum, and Shadows, what I refer to as my AOA faves. I can't get over how much Logos I keep opening. Just feel blessed for that, in all honesty, because Logos is such a good house in this set. In pretty much every set, you're never sad to see it. But let's crack this open and just kind of take a look at everything and try and figure out what the deck really wants to do. Obviously, there's going to be strengths and weaknesses in every deck, and when you say what it wants to do, it may not be referring to cards itself, but concepts within those cards. So let's just have a look at it. And this is my first time doing this. I came up with the idea just the other night, seeing a whole bunch of things, and this inspiration struck me. So we're going to be going through this first part of revealing the cards much faster than usual. So we got Autoencoder, Daughter, Infomorph, Munchling, Opposition Research, ×2, QMEX, Titan Engineer, Kazap, Novu Dynamo, Mobius Scroll with a damage pip, Lycobot, and then we move on to an Ardent Hero with a capture pip, Ardent Hero with double capture pip, Cleansing Wave, Font of the Eye with a capture pip. I'm hoping there's a Scrivenger in here. Oh no, Salvador's. Probably two Salvadors. Salvador, Lieutenant Grovanall with a draw pip, another Lieutenant Grovanall, Equalize, Radiant Truth with a capture pip, Scrivenger, Fabian, hopefully there's two, nope, Shoulder Armor with a damage pip, Master of the Gray, very nice, and then we have Shadows Look over there, Opportunist with a capture and a draw pip, Seeker Needle, Bonorant Venom, Booby Trap with a capture, so much capture, that's why, Boss Zarek, very interesting, Fidget, Lucky Dice, Reckless Rizzo, Spike Trap, the Shadow Council, and lastly we have a Lyco Thief. Okay, so again, going to look at the Raw Ember. So the Raw Ember for a deck to achieve is basically 18 minus the Raw Ember plus 7 is to give you a number for how much reaps you're going to have to do within a game potentially. So the Raw Ember we got here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 Raw Ember. Okay, so that means we need to do 10 reaps, so 17 reaps total is what that means for this deck. So this deck will require a board to exist. And then what do we got for Ember Control here? So actually let's do creature count, because now that we know we need a board, we need to make sure we can establish that board. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 creatures. So that's respectable. Of those 19, I'd say 15 are ones that you're going to be looking to have on the board. Some of them are going to be coming and going. Some of them are going to get taken out right away. So that has to be taken into consideration. And now let's look at our Ember control. What do we have here? So there's 1, 2, this counts, so 3, 4. This is, I count the cards, not the actual like amount. So this is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, because there's 2 of them. 9, 10, 11, 12. So there's 12. Okay. That's a good number. And now what do we have for the number of creature control cards? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8. Okay, now I want to look how many non-mutants are in here because of the fact that there is Krizab. It's good to know that because that is a board clear that is here. So with that, we have non-mutants. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 of the 19. So that's not a good number for Krizab. So this card will basically come into play situationally, basically. I don't mind if certain cards like QMX and stuff where the destroyed is beneficial, but it's going to be very situational when that may want to be played. Sometimes it's a great early before you've established your board. So that's one to keep in mind. So now here's a matter of like how can I cycle through the deck? Because there's things you're going to want in this deck for sure, and I think there is quite a bit of cycling here. So Fidget counts because, well, actually this is more of a disruption card, I think. So in Shadows, not a ton of cycling, but when we get over to because cycling is going to be important. So it's all in logos. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 5 cards in logos. So you kind of want to get logos out, I think, a little bit early and start getting that cycle going. But now let's look at what do I think this deck wants to do. So when I'm looking at Shadows, when you're calling Shadows, there is quite a bit of ways here you can disrupt your opponent in terms of your stealing. You can deal damage. If you get Boss Zarek out with amount of capture in this deck, you're actually going to make your whole board elusive, which is really cool. You also have the Spike Trap, which is neat. I kind of like this combo. I realize of Lucky Dice and Spike Trap. Oh, I guess it wouldn't work in that sense. But this is, again, you're able to make the board stick, I think, a lot more with this deck from what I'm seeing. So getting that board presence is going to be really handy here. And you can just make ways of making things stick. I like also, so I think Shadows is going to be helping set up certain things to exist in this deck. That's what I see so far, but you're going to be doing a lot of capture. So there's going to be a lot of Ember on the board with this deck. Now, the way to counteract that is if you can get Scrivenger Fabian out early enough, so you're going to want to maybe cycle for that. Then you can resolve capture bonuses as steal instead, and then you're keeping less on board. Obviously, having Master the Gray is really great. And we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 creatures in Sanctum. So that's going to make you really want to basically go into Sanctum quite a bit. And I mean, if you get Fabian out with this, that's stealing 3 Ember, that's really good, and you're creating that ability to have a board stick so you not get dealt damage. And then using your Grovanals, you can then capture 1. So again, it's going to create some good moments here. So I think you're going to be wanting to call Sanctum quite a bit here. I'm liking the Equalize with ability to fight, especially if you put it on a creature that Ardent Hero can just take out. I see this Logos house being very much, you're going to be using it to set up. You do have the passive ability of maybe doing a lot of archiving with Novu Dynamo and just gaining that Ember through auto-encoder discarding and the start of your turn, getting Novu Dynamo to do that. So that's really neat. Obviously Titan Engineer is cool. QMX constantly archiving and drawing is good, and I really like Opposition Research. This card I think is very clutch, especially in multiples. If you can get 1 in hand, 1 in the archives, and make it so your opponent can't reap turn after turn, that can be a huge swing in the game in your favor. So far I'm noticing that you're going to be wanting to go with Sanctum in this house. I think everything leads to supporting Sanctum. I almost want to use Logos to set that up. Like, I wouldn't be opposed to using Mobius Scroll in a way to set up big turns, and you maybe have the Mobius Scroll stuck just chilling for a while, and you get the bonus icon. So what else did I see? Cleansing Wave in this. So the Cleansing Wave I think could be really handy. There's quite a few damage pips. Again, this is the Sanctum going Sanctum, and then I think Shadows can be quite strong too. And then you have Spike Trap as well. You can take advantage of that. There is also the Booby Trap and Bonnet Venom, which is going to take advantage, and Secret Needle. All these things are going to lead to a very strong, and look over there, are all going to lead to a strong Cleansing Wave turn. So I definitely think this deck is going to want to establish these big boards state with right here, and if you can get Equalize going, you can really spread out the Ember that's getting on Lieutenant Grovanal, which is how I would use this. I'd really want to take advantage of the capture on Grovanal and then spread out between your creatures, and hopefully within that time you have gotten your boss Zarek out so that each friendly creature with Ember on it gains elusive, and that's going to be very, very strong. You also have the Opportunist to gain elusive. I would almost use this on a Grovanal or another creature that you want to gain elusive, maybe a Scrivenger Fabian, so that you can create a protection. Like Boss Zarek I think could be very instrumental in this deck, and you're going to want to get that out. But so far, without a doubt, I think this Sanctum is the winning house in this deck, followed by your Shadows, which is going to do some really cool things. You see just the ability to control Ember via capture here is huge. Then you can also use your Shoulder Armor to get a really strong creature even stronger. Like an Ardent Hero that has you get that much higher is really good, and you can taunt all your creatures that you want beside it, like your Grovanals. Daisy chained in between Ardent Heroes I think could be a next level thing. There's not a lot of board clear here. You're going to be wanting to fight as well, so I think you're going to be doing a toss-up between fighting with your creatures as an Ember control means if you get the Grovanals out, and then also reaping with them, because we are going to need those reaps. And then you also have your Shadows to kind of do a similar thing. When I look at how many Shadows creatures, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Shadows creatures, and these creatures don't want to fight. You have this Skirmish, and that's about it, so it's not totally necessary, but everything else you're leading towards being a reap effect here. And you're going to see, this is the support house for sure. Shadows is definitely a support. You're not going to want to call it as much. And also I could see actually maybe even a burst house depending on how the cards come. And this again is going to be, I think, a setup house. I think you want Logos early. You could also set up Sanctum nice and early and get that board presence going, but you could use Logos to set up a huge Sanctum turn, but be very mindful of what your opponent is holding. If they have a lot of board wipes, like hard board wipes, you're going to have to be careful. If you see Axiom of Grisk, this deck is built to counter Axiom of Grisk. So just be aware of the board wipes that exist, and you may have to be consciously playing around that at different times in the game, depending on how things are flowing. But we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 creatures here as well. So I think you need to not be afraid to use the auto-encoder discard on certain turns. I think there's certain things like Krizap could be something that you just discard. Aside from that, I mean, you could establish a logos board as well. It's very possible with what exists here. Use them to reap as an alternative. But I mean, there's not a lot of cards I would say I actively would be like, oh, I want to discard this. But I think based on the composition of pieces you could get, you may want to discard other cards to set something up through the autoencoder. You could discard some cards here. I could see Shadows having the most discardable set of cards, but again, I feel this is quite a nicely balanced deck between the three houses. But I do feel that the most potency is going to be coming from setting up your Sanctum board. There's a good amount of armor that exists between the creatures. There's good ways of controlling the board here. And then you have ways of doing some bursts with this house as well. Not to mention getting Master of the Gray so there's no bonus icons resolved could really hamper your opponent's ability to do some really crazy things. This is one of my, actually, maybe my favorite mutant next to Kronos, the draw one. Scavenger Fabian's coming in close second. I like that ability to steal. So, this is so far the first strength of the pack. So the strength of the pack is Sanctum, establishing that board. That's what I'm calling the strength of the pack for this one. Please let me know what you thought of this. This one felt a little bit more of a deeper dive, going into a little bit more of a way of looking at a deck differently. I don't know if you like this better than me just going over the cards, but this isn't talking about this deck from a sealed standpoint. This is talking about this deck like I'm actually going in. How am I going to figure out this deck? What am I going to do the best with it moving forward? You would not be able to do something like this in sealed as efficiently because the time you have to evaluate your deck would not allow this like deeper dive. This is more for a deck you're opening and wanting to see what it can possibly do. I do like the archiving in here. Like the logos archiving and card draw, I think is really powerful to set up everything else. So I would, so far my kind of view is you may want to, you always are looking to go logos early, get that out, start establishing that. Maybe you can establish a pretty solid board, and hopefully you're archiving some of your Sanctum stuff and using your Shadows in the meantime, and then you kind of want to set up this big Sanctum play. I think that can come in, and I think you can really set up an oppressive board with Sanctum and make things really interesting. I mean, you could even do some things like use your Krazap early and don't worry about you wiping a lot of your board. I mean, there is a good amount of mutants in logos. There's 1, 2, 3 just in here, so you could maybe keep a couple, but it may just be worthwhile, like, you know, you're going Sanctum next, pave the way to play that Sanctum and they don't have creatures already ready, and then you can start fighting into it. That's something I really like, is if you can create some way that your Sanctum goes down, they can't respond to it and attack into everything, and then you can follow up with you controlling the board with the Sanctum lineup. You are now able to fight with the following turn. So that's how I'm going to kind of view this. I hope you enjoyed this. This was actually a lot of fun for me, and please let me know what you want to see. Like, do you like this format? Just give me some insight into what you're thinking of this. Reach out in the comments. Hit me up on Twitter, Boulevard Paper Fight. That's BLVD Paper Fight, same as my name here. And just give me some feedback, because I want to know what you're getting the most out of from these videos. So as always, everyone, may your ember never be stolen and your keys forged promptly. Have a good one.